pray that everything that causes depression will now be annihilated. I pray that, Lord, you'll only give us the level of success that we have the discipline to manage. Break the unspoken demon of jealousy so that we are not in competition, but we are in collaboration. I pray, dear Lord, that while we're in this place, whatever that's going on in our homes will be resolved. And we promise to give your name glory, give your name honor, give your name praise. And those of you who believe you serve a prayer answering God, would you give God glory even now? History is going to record that NAREB is better than the NABJ, because your stroke of genius is that you invited Jamal Bryant and not Donald Trump. 2 days ago, former President Donald John Trump sat on the stage in a room that was about the size of this one, filled with black journalists from over 236 outlets. A super sharp sister from ABC News stood across from him and asked him directly, people who are in your camp and who you consider comrades are considering Kamala Harris a DEI hire. Do you believe that it's right? And are you going to stop her? The former president of these yet to be United States had to ask for clarity on what is DEI, to which he patiently explained that it's diversity, equity, and inclusion. He took a deep breath and paused, trying to collect the small amount of thoughts that he has. And had to admit he has known Vice President Kamala for many years. And all of those years, he thought she was Indian. And then one day, out of nowhere, she just turned black. Not sure when it is that she had that critical metamorphosis to turn black. Maybe it was when she applied to Howard University. Okay. Maybe when she crossed the line for Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Maybe it was when she joined a Black Baptist church in San Francisco under the leadership of Dr. Amos Brown. But what President Trump failed to realize is that in America, you don't have the option to choose.
That part.
That according to her statutes and laws, that if you had a drop of blood in you were considered black. It was that one drop of blood that would stop his father from renting and leasing to black GIs who were returning back from the war. If you just had one drop, you were considered black. The question that I rise to ask you this morning under chandeliers is, when did you stop being black? Was it when you had your biggest closing? Is it when you got your first pair of red bottoms? When you first started playing golf? When you stopped going to church and went to brunch instead? When did you stop being black? When 82% of you who graduated from HBCUs don't give back to that institution, but you show up for homecoming. When did you stop being black? Weren't you black under the convenience of Black History Month for 28 days in February? Not realizing that March 1st you had the same pigmentation. When did you stop being black? The song declares that if I can help somebody as I pass along, if I can cheer somebody with a word or with a song, it's only then that my living is not in vain. But have you helped anybody? Have you encouraged anybody? Are we operating with white privilege while having a black face? We have no connectivity to who it is that we are, what we represent. And realizing that you did not pull yourself up by your own bootstraps when somebody else had to take you out of flip-flops. When did you stop being black? I was here in New Orleans a couple of weeks ago for the Essence Festival. And I'm walking down Canal Street and I saw a sign that threw me off. It was a sign outside of Popeyes. And the sign outside of Popeyes said, "We apologize for the inconvenience. Please come back later. We're out of chicken." They were out of the thing that they were responsible for giving. And that probably is the sign that should hang outside of a whole lot of black churches. Please forgive us for the inconvenience, but we've run out of compassion. You're not welcome here if you have tattoos, if you have piercings, if your pants are sagging, if you're in a same-gender loving relationship. We are no longer open for business. Our skin has become only skin deep at moments of convenience. But Dr. King said the measure of a man is who they are in the time of crisis. Our amazing and eloquent and erudite president introduced me today as being the pastor of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia. But prior to that, I was a pastor in Baltimore, Maryland at Empowerment Temple AME Church. A church that I started with 43 people in my living room. And it escalated to 10,000. I was grateful for the privilege, and a few years ago, our former pastor, Bishop Eddie Long, passed. The board called me and asked would I come. After much prayer, I decided to take a leap of faith. Moved to Atlanta, Georgia. When I moved to Atlanta, Georgia, December 8th, 2018, it was all over the press, all over the blogs, all over the internet, that I had taken the largest black church in America. People all over the nation were texting me congratulations and kudos, praying for you, excited for you. That was December 8th. December 11th was my first board meeting. I'm AMA. I never had deacons before. You already know where this is going. I go to the board meeting and they share with me on December 11th, "Pastor, we're glad you're here, but there's some things that you should know." I said, okay. I said, we are $32 million in debt. We are 4 months from foreclosure. The county has already pulled up a blueprint on how to turn our church into a convention center. And we're glad you're here. I had to sit with myself for a minute. And I really had to stretch and strengthen my prayer life. Because I'm trying to figure out Probably not in the way that you would imagine or what you would think. I'm trying to figure out for the life of me how a church, which is the largest land-owning black church in America, sitting on 323 acres, is in debt. I'm trying to figure out how this is a so-called black megachurch sitting on 323 acres, and all they have is a sanctuary in a gymnasium. I'm trying to figure out, have I fallen into an antebellum South slave religion? That our mark of success is shouting and turn to your neighbor, but there is no evidence of community development and engagement. What happens after the benediction? After we do the electric slide down the center aisle, after our eyes roll in the back of our head, after foam is coming out of our mouth, are we in fact giving any testament of who God really is? Or have we reduced him to a feeling? This is the largest number of black people in our history of being in America. It's our largest number of black people who don't go to church. Largest generation who do not subscribe to an organized religion, don't believe in faith. We're now part of a generation that just puts stones in a bowl, light incense, believe of themselves to be God, because they don't see where the church is finding any real value. It is not really practicing or producing anything of any merit. I pause as an aside to tell you that the largest real estate owner in the world is the Catholic Church. Catholic Church owns more real estate than any other entity in the world. Second only to the Catholic Church is McDonald's. And I'm trying to ask today, albeit rhetorically, who is really responsible for gentrification? The black church is allowing property around it to be sold. Probably not having any real connectedness because the members no longer live in the neighborhood of the church. They just drive in on Sunday and drive back out and stream and watch Bible study online. Where is the real connectivity of the black church? It's hard for you to be able to get involved and be able to speak even in your own church, where you have a church that is biblically rooted, but the pastor is financially illiterate. The evidence is the pastor can't even afford to retire. So he's up there barely able to speak, barely able to function, barely able to cast vision because no pension was put in place. And as a consequence, the family thinks it's a family business. And they got to keep him there in order for the rest of them to eat. I know it's uncomfortable, but I wanted to ask you, when did we stop being the real black church? When we speak truth to power. Nobody is asking anything on why it is that it has taken over a week and we've not heard from the black denominations making a presidential endorsement. I know that this is uncomfortable, but the largest schism against our people after racism is sexism. I know you don't want to shout about this, because how in the world could you imagine a woman being the president when you won't let a woman preach? Difficult moment for us to try to galvanize, for us to have some real function of who it is that we are. But it is the byproduct of a colonized faith. I'm reminded in this moment of a man who was walking from Jerusalem to Jericho. And while walking from Jerusalem to Jericho, he fell amongst thieves. And the Bible said that the thieves left him half dead. They left him for dead. A young black man left for dead. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the Bible then tells us that the first person to pass him by was the church. The church didn't pick him up. The church left him on the side of the road. Bishop Wortham spoke just a couple of years ago to the Nation of Islam, and I said to the Nation of Islam that your success is built on the black church's failure. Nation of Islam would not be successful if the black church hadn't failed. Maybe you forgot that Malcolm X was originally Malcolm Little. He was the son of a Baptist preacher. Had an infraction, went to law, and went to jail. And when he went to jail, no deacons went to go see him. Nobody from the intercessory prayer band went to go visit him. But the Nation of Islam saw his value and began to breathe into his vision. What would it have meant for history if Martin King wasn't by himself but had another preacher who could still guide our people to a higher place? The church passed him by. While I was in Baltimore, I had a funeral for our city's biggest drug dealer. And the church was packed and jammed. It looked like Easter met watch night service. It's packed and jammed. From the window to the wall, all the way up. Churches in Baltimore, but when I walked into the sanctuary, while in Baltimore, when I walked in the sanctuary, the church in Baltimore smelled like I was in Jamaica. You'll figure that out on the elevator. I'm preparing to go preach the eulogy of this young man, and there's a ruckus at the back door. I said, Lord, they got gang fighting in my church. I got up from my center seat and went to the door where the commotion was taking place, and much to my amazement, there was no gangs fighting out in the hallway. It was one of my ushers. Fighting with the young men that you can't come into church with sunglasses and a hat on. And I said to him, are you crazy? This may be our only time to turn this life around. You caught up in the wardrobe when we got to deal with warfare. I hosted the state's largest gun buyback program. But we ask no questions that if you bought a weapon of any kind, we'll give you $200. Open at 10 a.m., closed at 4. And by 8 a.m., there was a line down the street from people who want to turn in their weapons, receive $200. Ladies and gentlemen, about 3:45, a black navigator pulls up to the church, opens up the trunk, and it's filled with weapons. The state police who were partnering with me in this endeavor said, Pastor, we got to leave. We can't even be here to collect these because these are military grade weapons. And we don't even know how they're on the street with a night scope. Y'all not saying anything. I said to the chairman of my deacon board, run to the bank before they close. Because we ain't got all the money for all the guns that they got in this trunk. The two young men got out and they looked me in the eye and said, Rev, we don't need your $200. We want to know, can you get us a job? I was arrested in that moment. I was doing it all wrong. That I was just aiding and abetting, but I was not transforming the minds and the opportunities of what was available. So we got those young men in the college, partnered with Apple and gave them laptop computers, trained them how to do Forex night training so that they would understand how that while they're leaving the street, they ain't got to leave their life. The church has got to transform how it is that we think. I got up 3 years ago to my church. 3 years ago, I got up and I apologized. I'm a third generation preacher. I got up and all of my years of being in church, I realized that the church has never given a scholarship to a young man who wanted a CDL license. The church has never given a scholarship to a young woman who wants to be an esthetician. The black church has adopted W.E.B. Du Bois and thrown away Booker T, acting as if trade does not have a value. But we found out in the culture, the time that we're in, truck driver and a plumber and an electrician can make more money than somebody with a bachelor's degree, but we don't know how to value and honor them. The church passed him by. And after the church passed him by, here comes a lawyer. The lawyer passed him by because there's still 3 strikes and you're out. I want you to understand that there are 1 million black people who are under penal supervision, whether in jail, whether on ankle bracelet, on home monitor, on parole. 1 million black people are in the penal system, more people than were in slavery. And yet we're not doing anything to correct the problem. It's a critical moment for us because we're going to have to mature in the backdrop of Project 2025 is that as black voters, we got to see beyond personality and find out what are the policies. Under Project 2025, they want to enlarge the death penalty. That's going to impact our community. Under Project 2025, they want to raise the age of retirement, knowing that black men die before everybody else. Under Project 2025, they want to get rid of Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare. This is a critical moment, but the Bible warned us, our people die from a lack of knowledge. The law passed him by. And I want to show you, because all of you who are in this room, by and large, graduated summa cum laude from Vacation Bible School. You graduated top of the class in Sunday school. You were in the Easter and the Christmas program. And you had more than 2 lines. I want to show you the fallacy and why it is that your Sunday school teacher needs to be held liable. Whether you read the King James Version or the NIV or Revised Standard or the New Living Translation, I need you to go to that next verse, and there you'll find nowhere did Jesus ever call the Samaritan good. We did. He never said it was a good Samaritan. He said, then came a Samaritan. And the reason why we inserted the adjective good is because we're used to strangers helping us. And we don't know how to do it for ourselves. I'm going to argue for the 3 minutes I got left, because Jonathan took up my time. I'm going to argue for you the 3 minutes I got left why the Samaritan was not good. The Bible says he's beaten to an inch of his life. He's bloody, he's bruised, he's broken. And you have so memorized sacred texts that you have lost the capacity for critical analysis. He's getting ready to die. I want to ask you, how was it good if he took him to a hotel and didn't take him to a hospital? Because the role of an American racist society is to make Negroes feel comfortable. You'll be comfortable not even knowing you died. You're comfortable in a gated community and your children are on behavior-altering drugs. You're comfortable. They know how to play video games but can't conjugate verbs. You are comfortable. You're in a place, here it is, that you are so busy you don't even know how to take care of your aging parents. You're comfortable. You done got to a place that you judge people by what kind of car they drive and what kind of dress they got on, but you don't know anything about their character or their personality. They just put them in a hotel when he belonged in a hospital. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand that when they put him in the hotel and not the hospital, maybe you forgot, how is the innkeeper supposed to know if the brother needs help? Because this passage is before the invention of telephones. How's he supposed to call the front desk and his ribs are fractured, his lip is busted, his nose is bleeding? He found out that what a lot of us already know, that prayer still works. That just a little talk with Jesus will make everything all right. I know you're in here with Rolex watches on, but is there anybody here who found out late in the midnight hour, God will turn it around?
I argue today, NAREB, that he ain't no good Samaritan. He ain't a good Samaritan because I want to know, when you picked up the young man, how come you never filled out a police report? Never asked, what did they look like? Who did it to you? Never contacted the city council to say, we need a red light on this corner. Where are the body cameras that will suggest that this will never happen again? We sang and we shouted as slave believers. As slave believers, that he left his credit card at the front desk. But did you notice, for the man that was beaten, the man that was bloody, the man that was broken, he gave money to an institution, but never gave money to him. Our community is looking for access to capital. They want to know how they can get their business scaled to the next level. Isn't it amazing that young black people can get a loan for a used car, but can't get a loan to buy a house or to start a business? A critical moment. And the problem that I have with the Good Samaritan is I have no scriptural evidence that he ever came back to check on him. He left him right where he was. There are a whole lot of us who understand the charge to keep our half. The God be glorified. I'm grateful because I rose this morning in the Hyatt Regency, not forgetting I was black. I failed the 11th grade. I went to Morehouse College for their summer program, but a black guidance counselor saw positive possibilities in me and said, young man, I'll see you in 3 weeks when school starts. I said, sir, you ain't gonna see me. I gotta go back and repeat a grade. He said, there's no way you're gonna be able to repeat a grade. I am going to take you myself to Metro Community College. And I'm gonna sit with you for you to get a GED. I got a GED because a black man who was not my father saw my value. Saw something in me that had possibility and saw something that could be cultivated. 2 weeks after that, I got a phone call that said, is this Jamal Bryan? I said, this is he. He said, you just got accepted in the Morehouse. I said, my parents ain't got money for me to start Morehouse next week. He said, we didn't say nothing to you about money. We asked, did you want to come? I said, well, I ain't never taken the SAT before. He said, we didn't ask you about the SAT. I stand before you today as the first black man that Morehouse ever let in with a GED.